For major Ukrainian cities, dusk brings a visceral threat. Swarms of dark delta-wing drones arrive in relentless waves, blotting out the sky and targeting power grids, ports, and critical infrastructure to plunge populations into darkness. The primary weapon in this onslaught is the Shahed 136, a low-cost kamikaze drone that Russia has adapted and renamed the Giron. It flies low, it's packed with explosives, and it operates on a terrifyingly simple premise. This strategy, the economics of exhaustion, aims to bankrupt an air defense network. By saturating the sky with cheap targets, it forces a defender to deplete their stockpile of expensive interceptors on missions that offered no financial return. This chart visualizes the staggering financial asymmetry at play. A single Russian drone costs roughly $35,000 to construct, but a Patriot missile sets Ukraine back $4 million every time it fires. And when we look at the monthly production volume here, the problem multiplies. Russia can pump out hundreds of these low-cost drones every single day. High-end interceptor missiles take months of complex manufacturing to produce. The Patriot system excels at knocking out hypersonic and ballistic missiles, but using a $4 million asset to swat down a slow, propeller-driven drone drains vital resources away from those actual high-value threats. To survive, Ukraine realized it had to achieve a radically different cost-to-kill ratio. The challenge shifted from purely intercepting hardware to making the act of defense economically sustainable. Bypassing the notoriously slow channels of traditional defense procurement, Ukraine started partnering directly with foreign tech startups to build custom, rapid response solutions. One major result is the Terra A1. Developed through a joint venture between Japan's Terra Drone Corporation and Ukraine's Amazing Drones, it is a dedicated interceptor designed specifically to hunt down Shaheds. The Terra A1 relies on stealth electric propulsion, meaning it emits practically no noise and leaves almost zero heat signature. It also reaches speeds 100 kilometers per hour faster than the Russian drones it chases, allowing it to easily close the gap and strike. Looking at this data visualization, you can see how the math flips. At a manufacturing cost of only $2,000 per unit, the Terra A1 makes it more expensive for Russia to launch a drone than for Ukraine to stop it. The second layer of this new shield comes from the Swedish defense giant Saab. In a departure from standard defense timelines, Saab initiated an engineering speedrun to build a new counter-drone platform called the Loki system. In exactly 84 days from initial evaluation to working prototype, Saab engineers successfully integrated their existing Giraffe 1X mobile radar with their TrackFire remote weapon stations. Loki spots targets using 3D radar tracking and brings them down using standard machine gun ammunition and precise electronic jamming, neutralizing drones for pennies on the dollar. These platforms prove that effective defense doesn't require decades of costly research. It requires the pragmatic integration of off-the-shelf technology. Even with cheap interceptor drones and rapid-fire guns, a mid-tier gap remained in the airspace. Russia adapted by flying its drones at altitudes beyond the reach of machine guns, yet these targets still lacked the value to justify a Patriot launch. To plug this hole, Ukraine deployed the V2X Tempest. It's a lightweight, highly mobile 4x4 platform designed explicitly for rapid response anti-drone missions near the front lines. The Tempest fires the AGM-114 Hellfire longbow missile. This is an advanced, radar-guided weapon originally engineered to track targets from attack helicopters like the Apache. Because the launcher sits on a rugged Buggy chassis, crews can fire their missiles and immediately accelerate away, repositioning themselves before the enemy can trace the launch site and return fire. But defending the sky is only half the battle. To stop the swarms at their source, Ukraine had to pivot to the offensive and strike the sites where Russia launches and tracks these weapons. For these deep strikes, they unleashed the Swedish RBS-15, known as the Gungnir. It is a powerful anti-ship missile, heavily equipped with electronic countermeasures to push straight through Russian GPS jamming. Ukraine fired the Gungnir at the Siwash offshore oil rig, detonating against the platform in a strike that destroyed the electronic warfare and surveillance outposts Russia had placed there. By blinding the early warning radars on the Siwash rig, Ukraine cleared corridors over the Black Sea for its own long-range drones to strike back directly at Russian launch facilities. Russia's invasion was intended to be a quick victory. After 4 years of war, it has instead integrated Ukraine into a global web of defense technology and military partnerships that were previously non-existent. The threat pushed Japan to move away from its traditionally pacifist-leaning aid model. Japanese tech companies are now serving as lethal defense co-developers, investing capital into the Ukrainian arms sector. It also drove Sweden to drop 2 centuries of military neutrality. The nation joined NATO and began actively supplying advanced deep-strike missiles to counter the Russian military. Now, established global powers are turning to Ukraine for guidance. They are looking to learn the hard-won lessons of deploying low-cost, high-efficiency drone warfare at scale. The strategy to break Ukraine through economic exhaustion backfired. It accelerated the growth of a self-sustaining defense industry that other nations are now attempting to emulate. As decentralized workshops scale production, these interceptors demonstrate that the era of relying on multi-million-dollar missiles to secure the sky is ending.